Joining me is my dear friend and mentor, Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House and a Fox News contributor. Newt, welcome back. You can talk about anything, but it's mostly about this tragic, awful shooting. And let me just, Newt, I don't see, I read your article. Charlie Kirk's assassination teaches that evil will flourish unless it is confronted and defeated. Of course, I agree with that. Newt, I don't know how you do it without faith. I do not know how you do it without faith. I don't know how you do it without a moral code that clearly distinguishes between good and evil. I'll be honest with you. Faith, to me, is right at the center of this awful story. The fight against faith, if you will. I'm just saying, that's my take. What's yours?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. When the French Enlightenment mutated into an anti-Christian movement and secularism in the French Revolution began to literally try to replace Western civilization, including, for example, replacing the months with revolutionary names, killing thousands of people with the guillotine. From that point on, there has been a constant drive among Western elites that's anti-religious, that basically seeks to center the world on human beings. So it's exactly what God was talking about when it said you should have no other God before you. If you think you can change who you are sexually, if you think that your appetites, your interests, your desires are at the center of life, that you get to define, you're going down a path where there's a vacuum, where there should be an active religious soul. That vacuum very often gets filled with drugs. I mean, the fact that we could lose 100,000 young people a year and not have a national crisis tells you that in a faith-based society where every soul matters, we would be in a frenzy to destroy the drug trade, including in China, where a large part of it comes from, including in Mexico, but also including in the United States. And we'd be serious about it. But somehow we're told, oh, well, you know, recreational drugs are funny. Hollywood makes movies about it. It's really okay. Then you get into sexual identity politics. All of these things create a period of instability in which there's nothing to grab. The power of faith is that you know that you are less than God. You know that you only have salvation through faith, and you know that it's okay to live in a world where you're not going to be perfect, but you can find salvation anyway. You take all that away, and it becomes a nightmare and a jungle.
Yes, afraid I agree with that. It becomes a barren, violent nightmare. You're exactly right. You know, the other thing, Newt, people may not have agreed with everything that Charlie Kirk stood for, okay? I understand that. But one thing's for sure. He was for free speech. His whole idea of dialoguing on college campuses and doing it in a civil manner. He was for free speech. He was also for free markets, okay? Now, how you go from free speech and free markets to fascism or Hitlerism, which are violence-tinged words, is beyond me. I do not understand this. And I think that is an issue that, you know, folks who use those terms should be called on, because that leads right down the road to the barren existence that you described a moment ago.
Sure. I mean, if you go back and look at the collapse of Weimar Germany, it was partly because the communists and socialists on one side, the Nazis on the other side, all used language that was a language of hate and a language of absolute victory. One side or the other had to win. And therefore, whatever you had to do for your side to win was fine. Well, part of what you're seeing today is that there was an establishment on the left that was amazingly powerful, had been amazingly successful for a long time. And that establishment wanted to change America into a very different place. Ironically, this being Constitution Week, celebrating the Constitution, these people are all basically against the Constitution, because the Constitution is a limited, balanced document recognizing that human beings are weak, and the human beings left to themselves will lead to dictatorship, to exploitation, and therefore we need rules. We need structure. And the fact that we went through this cycle now for really almost 50 years, starting in the 60s, where we basically allowed people to try on their own to invent civilization, not have to learn anything about historic rules, not having to learn the Ten Commandments, not having to learn that there is a larger order and that God is a key part of that larger order. Well, you end up where you are. You have people out there who are, for all practical purposes, crazy, and you have people out there who, in their loneliness and their craziness, listen to the guy who stabbed to death the Ukrainian woman in Charlotte, who's now saying that there was something inside him, that he had been taken over. This is madness.
I still think, as bleak as things are right now, I still think this is the greatest country in the world. It's a democracy, and I think I'm going to be optimistic about this. I think bells have been rung. I think a lot of people are looking at this. We'll talk some more about it, you and I, and we'll talk about it in the show. But I'm going to take the optimistic point of view. I think faith is going to triumph. You know, when crucibles come, faith is always there to help. I think that's going to happen again. So anyway, Newt Gingrich, you and I will talk. Thanks for helping us out today.
With you.
You bet.